some Mexicans or what we call Ishikar, the tribe of Ishikar, inside those mines working, man. You see they all up on wood. Okay, see that? It's Ishikar. Okay, so go back to the scriptures. It says one more thing. It says verse 13, it says they took the young men to grind. Now also that also is talking about when the Spaniards would come and they would get the Native Americans and they would kill them, and then they would sell their meat for dog food. They would grind the meat up and sell it for dog food. See, it's all according to prophecy, man. That's how you know who the Israelites are, according to prophecy. Okay, so let's go back to Deuteronomy. Let's go to page 66, man. I mean, because that basically proves it. You know, that basically proves that. So we're gonna come out of this book, and we're gonna go into this book right here called "The Indian Slave Trade" by Alan Gallery. It's called "The Indian Slave Trade: The Rise of the English Empire in the American South, 1670 to 1717" by Alan Gallery. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to page 66. Okay, to prove some more, prove again Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Okay, we're gonna go to page 66. Okay, page 66 says, last of all, the European powers enslaved Indians. Only the Spanish expressly outlawed enslavement, but as noted earlier, Spaniards found numerous ways to keep Indians in various conditions of unfree servitude to obtain their labor. I mean, like the cracker always do, he put you in slavery, and then he called it some other shit so he could say it's not slavery. Indentured servitude or some shit, but he gonna say it's not slavery, it's right. It's just a different name though. It says the French enslaved Indians in Canada and Louisiana, but did not practice slavery on the scale of the English because they were in a weak position to do so. Okay? So let's go to page 65. It says, but three, I'm sorry, hold on. It says, but three factors must be emphasized in a discussion of European enslavement of American Indians in the American South. First, the enslavement of Indians as practiced in Carolina was undertaken illegally by Carolina laws and moral standards. Enslavement, okay, where I'm at, right here, it says, enslavement of a free people was a condition reserved for captives taken in just wars, or prisoners who lost their freedom by conviction for a crime. It says the enslaved in Carolina were captured. It's talking about the Native Americans. The enslaved Native Americans in Carolina were captured not in a just war, but raids conducted for the sole purpose of turning free people into slaves. Okay? So that right there shows you, you know, that's the same thing that the so-called Negroes went through. Okay? They were enslaving us in Africa, but over here they was going in and enslaving the so-called Native Americans. And guess what? Guess what? They were doing it by raiding villages, just like they did in Africa. Okay, just like they did us in Africa. Okay? So let's move on. Let's go to page 64 again. Okay, page 64, it says, while the proprietors did not come up with another solution, such as banning the Indian slave trade, it's worth asking. So there was an Indian slave trade too. While the transatlantic slave trade was going on, there was an Indian slave trade. See, but you niggas don't know that because you don't do research, man. Okay, the Native Americans are Israelites, man, according to the curses. So right here, we're on page 299, okay? It says, Southern Native Americans sold in the British slave trade. So they was right alongside you Negroes, man. It says from 1670 to 1715, which is 45 years. So how many Native Americans did they sell in 45 years? Now this is just what they're going to tell you, okay? And I'm going to tell you like this. This information is not documented good, man. Because they didn't really keep track of the Native Americans like they did the Negroes. Okay, so this is not real good documented evidence. This is good evidence, but it's not good numbers. It probably was way more than this. Okay, the total Native American slaves sold into slavery was 51,000. Okay, and right here you can see it got all the nations: Florida, Arkansas, Choctaw, Westo. You know, they got all the different Cherokee and all them. Okay, but like I said, it's probably a high number. So you got 51,000, which they'll tell you, which is not a good documented number. As we're gonna read, so we're gonna go down, we're gonna read, and I'm gonna explain it. It says Charlestown, as Peter H. Wood precisely shows, was in Ellis Island for African Americans arriving in the New World. So Charlestown was the Ellis Island for Negroes coming into America on slave ships. It says, but it also marked the point of deportation for thousands of Native Americans. So the Native Americans were getting deported to different islands, and they were sending them to Spain and different parts of Europe. Okay, so they were getting shipped out on slave ships too. Okay, it says scholars have underestimated the size of the Indian slave trade for two reasons. Like I told you earlier, it's probably more than 151,000 Native Americans sold within 45 years. It was more than that, because it tells you right here that scholars have underestimated the size of the Indian slave trade for two reasons. There is little record of where large numbers of Americans or Indians were shipped. So right there, the Most High told you that the children of Israel, okay, were going to be shipped all over the world. Okay, we're going to be scattered all over the world. Okay, you get that in James 1:1. Now they put the Native Americans in slavery on slave ships and sent them all over the world, but they didn't keep record of it. So now you don't know where the hell some of the Native Americans went. They probably went all into Australia and shit. Okay? They sent them all everywhere, man. Okay? So let's go to page 302. Okay, just bear with me on this. It's page 302. It says, in 1715, the Royal Anne arrived in New York with a shipment of Indian and black slaves. You see that? So you niggas was on the same slave ships with the Native Americans. Okay, it says, in 1715, the Royal Anne arrived in New York with a shipment of Indian and black slaves. The number of blacks was recorded, but not the number of Indians. So you niggas was on the same ship with the Native Americans as the scripture said, man. Let me go ahead and get the scripture for that.